Okay, welcome everyone. So today we're talking about the Aroma Freedom Technique, and I'm going to give you a good idea of what it is. We're going to have a chance to practice as well. So what is the Aroma Freedom Technique? Well, we call it AFT, and it does several things. It helps you become radiant because it helps you clear out the blocks that you may have to success and to joy. So whatever goal, whatever intention you want to have, whether it's a financial goal, whether it's a relationship harmony, a wellness goal, really anything. We help you identify what's blocking you and holding you back. And as we know, radiant people attract others who want what they have. So this helps, of course, in business and in life. We can use it on ourselves. We can also use it to help others. And we're really about realizing dreams and desires. For many years, I'm a psychologist, been a psychologist about 20 years, and I always knew that I had a book in me. And I loved, 20 years ago, it may sound strange, but when I was up in my mother's attic writing my dissertation, I loved it. It was one of the best times of my life. And that told me that for me, a high value was learning and teaching and connecting ideas together. So for the last 20 years, I've been in practice and doing lots with the essential oils and teaching and lecturing and everything. But I always wanted to write a book. So I travel around quite a bit, and I was up in Singapore just back in April, and I told my wife when I came back that I really felt inspired when I was there. At that time, I was teaching for oils for trauma release, helping with people with nightmares, flashbacks, things like that. But I said, I want to create something that can help everybody, because we've all had disappointments and frustrations and things, bad things that have happened that have affected how we think. So I came back, this was in April, and April 19th, I remember, and the convention we were going to be going to was June 19th, 2 months away. So I said, I'm going to write a book, I'm going to have it published, I'm going to have a booth there at the convention. So I said, you're not going to see me for a month, I'm going to the library. So I went to the library and I challenged myself to write a book in 30 days. And I started writing. I started just writing. I didn't even know what it was going to be about. I started just writing a few things about things I've learned over the years about oils and how they affect the brain and so on. And I read it and it was okay, but it wasn't quite right. I said, this isn't quite coming out fast enough. So I said, I think I haven't challenged myself enough. I'm going to write a book in 15 days. And by this point, I had developed these 12 steps that eventually became this technique. And so I did the process. That was my intention, to write the book in 15 days. And I was thinking, oh, that's impossible. Who can do that? Too much pressure, whatever it was. I took myself through the process. It brought me back to a memory. I don't even remember what it is now, but I started smelling my oils. As I was smelling the oils, something happened inside me, and I realized, oh, well, 150 pages, that's just 10 pages a day for 15 days. I mean, how hard is that? So something shifted in my mindset. And then when I came out of that process, I was really on fire, and every day, and I announced it to my family, every day I was writing my 10 pages. After about 4 or 5 days, there was enough together that the whole book just appeared, and I could see the rest of it. I could see how it was going to go. So sure enough, by about day 13 or 14, I had the basis of what this book is. Now, what's interesting about this process of goal setting is that when you achieve a goal, all it really does is you reach a peak that you think is the top of the mountain, but you realize it's just a smaller hill on the way to a bigger mountain. So now I had the book, but I realized, well, I need an editor. You can't edit your own stuff because your brain is going to fill in, and so you can't see it if you misspelled it or if you didn't get something right. So as it happened, one of our good friends where we were living was an editor, and so she and I worked together very closely. And then I tell the story in the book how we were working really fast to try to get this done, and everything was flowing beautifully. And then one day my brain just stopped working. I couldn't think anymore. And I told her, I said, I don't know what's happening. I can't think anymore. I need to take a break. So I went outside, took a walk. Luckily, I took my oils with me. And I said to myself, well, maybe there's an emotional component here, because I don't know why I'm not thinking right now. So I did my technique, and sure enough, this memory popped into my head of a time when I was a senior in high school and I was on the track team, and I was running the 1 mile run, and I was never a great athlete, but I thought I'd give it a try. And so the gun went off and I started sprinting, and I ran that first quarter mile, and I was ahead of everybody, and my team was cheering me on because they thought, well, Ben, they were surprised that he was ahead. And then after the second lap, I was still ahead. I thought, this is great, I'm a star runner. Well, the third lap came, and I was sprinting the whole time, so I hadn't paced myself. I didn't understand that yet, so I ran out of juice, and people started passing me on the left and on the right. I ended up finishing maybe 5th or 6th, and it wasn't the end of the world, but somehow that memory popped in, and I realized that there was a thought process that had developed in my head that says, you're not strong enough to finish. And that block is what had turned my brain off. Here I was in a sprint to finish this editing, to meet my deadline, and this thought had gummed it up. And so smelled my oils, cleared it out, went back up, my brain turned back on, and I went and finished the editing. And I tell that story to give you an idea of what happens when you start pursuing your goals and you use a tool like this that'll help you break through when you feel like you've hit the wall. It's really just the bottom of a learning curve. And when you've hit that wall and you break through the barrier, you can just climb that learning curve, almost not effortlessly. You still have to do the work, but it helps you get to the next place. So this technique is something that I still use every day, and I really encourage people who learn it, use it daily as a way to reach your goals. So I'm really excited to be able to share it with you today, and it's kind of become my mission to spread this because it really is simple. When you try it, you realize, well, how come nobody thought of this before? It's pretty simple, but it really took me 20 years to put the pieces in the right order, because we're using essential oils in conjunction with specific awareness steps. One of the ways that Aroma Freedom is different than traditional aromatherapy is, in traditional aromatherapy, we all know that essential oils can be calming when we're feeling wound up, or they can be energizing when we're dragging. So we tend to use oils to kind of help regulate us, and that's fine. What this technique does, though, is that you go through several steps first and get your brain into a place where you're actually aware of and seeing the blocking memory. And then when you smell the oil, it shifts your whole mindset. So it's really a very strategic way of using the oils, and you don't actually need all that many oils to use, and the main oils we use come right out of the starter kit, which is really, really nice. Just quickly about myself, I've been in practice since about 95, and using the oils since 2001, and I've been trained in all the different types of traditional therapies, as well as the more, we call them the alphabet soup therapies, EMDR, EFT, NET, ART, really getting a sense of how we can move people more quickly through these. I've presented nationally at the convention and internationally since 2011, and I am the author of the book called The Aroma Freedom Technique, Using Essential Oils to Transform Your Emotions and Realize Your Heart's Desire. So in the book, we talk about the reason why this technique works is because our response to smell is powerful and automatic, and it's based really in our primitive brain. Our primitive survival brain, when we smell food that isn't good for us, it means it might be toxic or poisonous to us, we can't help but recoil. We can't get ourselves to eat it. And so that's a survival mechanism. It's built into our brain that our sense of smell needs to be able to notify us immediately if there's something wrong. Or similarly, if there's a predator and we smell the predator, or the rabbit smells the predator, it immediately triggers this amygdala, this fight or flight response. So it's the power of smell to affect our brain instantly that we're going to use to our advantage. You may have seen things like this before. The olfactory nerve, which is what actually gets triggered when you smell something, it connects directly to the limbic system in the brain. And this is the part of the brain where we have what we call these primitive approach avoidance, safe or unsafe feelings. The amygdala, like I said, its job is to basically tell us, are we in danger or not? That being said, we've also used incense in religious rituals for centuries, whether it's in the Catholic Church, in the Hindu temple, and the Buddhist shrine, because we know that certain oils, especially frankincense, but there's others as well, they also can affect the brain and put us into that more calm, receptive state, which helps us be more aware of our intuition and our connection spiritually. So that's why we use oils. Now we need to understand why we get stuck, and I talk about this in the book as well. Suppose Jill is up on stage and, probably wouldn't happen to Jill, but maybe someone else. Jill's up on stage and she has to give a presentation and she's sweating and she's nervous. Why is she so nervous? Why is, fear of public speaking is considered more common than the fear of dying. So because when Jill's up there, if she's nervous, it's not because she's in any physical danger, right? It's because she has a negative thought that is telling her something bad's about to happen. People are going to laugh at me. I'm going to stumble over my words, whatever it is. So the negative thoughts lead to the negative feelings, which might lead to the negative behaviors. So, and this is not new information. The question is, how did we get this way? Where did those negative thoughts come from? Well, what I've come to understand is that in childhood or even in adulthood, when we have a situation that happens, let's say as a 10-year-old child, she has to give a presentation in front of the 5th grade class. And when she's up there, she didn't realize she had a stain on her shirt, and people start laughing. Well, she develops this block because she feels embarrassed and doesn't know what to do with it. And the embarrassment is going to turn into a thought process. The thought process will say, don't get up in front of people. The thought process is actually there to protect her. It's trying to say, okay, no, I've learned now, if I don't get in front of people, if I don't reach out, if I don't do anything, then I won't get embarrassed again. So that's where the thought comes from. Now, people will often say, well, you need to fight the negative thoughts. You need to affirm, I am a great speaker. I am this, I am that. And affirmations are good, and we're going to use affirmations. But the trouble is when you haven't cleared out the source of that negative thought, you haven't cleared out the memory, then you're just fighting with yourself. So what AFT does, which is really amazing, it actually goes in and dissolves the source of that negative thought so that the negative thought isn't even there anymore. And this is what happens. It's so powerful. Then your intuition can flow just more easily. So over time, over the many thousands of experiences we've had, we have all built up a set of beliefs. And these beliefs kind of create our personality, create our basic approach to life. Some of us feel wealthy, even if we have no money. We just feel abundant. Others of us, feel like we're always struggling. Some of us feel safe. People walk around worried about everything. Maybe we feel strong or maybe we feel weak. Some people feel good in one area, like, well, I know that I'm smart, but I'm not very good looking. So we may develop a belief system which will make us I'm going to seek out libraries, but I'm not going to seek out social environments. So we're doing these things based on our thoughts and based on our beliefs. So this is kind of the background of when we want to accomplish something in our life. There's a great saying that says that everything you want is on the other side of fear. And I like that because we have whatever part of our life we have that we're comfortable with, we're not afraid of. But the things that we desire that feel a little bit out of reach, it's because there's some fear, there's some blocking belief between us and that. So this is what we're going to be clearing out. So briefly, and we won't spend too much time on the 12 steps, and you don't need to write them down. These are all in the book, and the book is really a handbook. It's really designed to be a practical guide that you can just refer to as you go through the steps. But just so you understand the process, and when we do our demonstration, you'll see where we're coming from with this. The first thing we do is we're setting an intention. And this is really important because a lot of people, they may feel like, well, I'm unhappy. Well, what do you want? Well, I don't really know what I want. I just know that I don't want this. So some people may not know what they want, but other people may be very clear. They may be, yes, could be a specific goal. I want to reach a certain rank in my company by December, or I want to have a more harmonious relationship with my kids, whatever it is. So we set the intention and we rate its likelihood. How likely does it feel that we're going to achieve that from 0 to 10? And a 0 means we're totally hopeless about it. And a 10 means we're totally confident that it will happen. So I like to have people choose something that's between about a 3 and a 6, something that they really want, comes from their heart, but it feels a little bit out of reach. And then if a person is having a hard time figuring out, getting a clear idea of what they want, then I might have them smell some clarity oil or some other oils that are help with just getting a clear mind. And then the next step, when you say your intention, you listen for the negative voice that tells you that can't happen. And we all have this negative voice. We also have positive voices in us, but it's that voice that's there whenever we say, I want to be a diamond, then the voice usually it's going to say something like, yeah, right, or that's not possible, or you don't know what you're doing, or there's no way you can do that. Like for me, when I said, I'm going to write a book in 15 days, that voice said, no, you're not, or too much pressure. I forget what it even said, but it was saying something to me. So you identify what the negative voice is, and then you ask yourself, how do you feel when you hear that negative voice? And this is really important. Feelings are one word: mad, sad, glad, frustrated, angry. If someone says, oh, I feel like he doesn't love me anymore, that's not a feeling, that's a judgment. The feeling is, I feel lonely, I feel embarrassed, whatever it is. And then you find where you feel it in your body. And this is important because we all tend to get stuck in our heads and we start chasing our thoughts around. When you ask where you feel it in the body, it just kind of anchors it and it kind of brings it into your body so that you can clear things out. Then you drift back to an earlier time when you felt the same way, either recently or long ago. And I leave it open-ended. Oftentimes people will spontaneously go back to some time from childhood, 5, 10 years old. They could go back to teenage years, they could go back to a few years ago. So I leave it up to whatever their mind shows them. Whatever your mind shows you, go with that. Even if you don't understand why you're thinking about that, go with that. And it's at that point that we've kind of pulled all of it together that we smell what we call the memory releasing blend. And this is that blend of stress away, frankincense, and lavender. All three of those, a drop of each in the palms. And we do that while focusing on the thought, feeling, and memory. So visualizing that memory that comes up. And as you breathe the oil in, we're on step 7 now, you see what happens to the image, the thoughts, or the feelings. What's very interesting, what tends to happen is the image tends to fade or blur. The feelings tend to release from the body. And what's so amazing is that spontaneously a new positive mindset will often just pop in. Like in my case, it was just, 10 pages a day for 15 days. So be aware of that. Now, the first round you do it, it may not pop into the positive right away. So you notice the new beliefs that are starting to emerge, see if any creative ideas are coming, and then you go back and you state your original intention aloud. And you see how likely does it feel now? Maybe you say, I'm going to be diamond by September. And when you first do it, you're a 2. And then you might come back around the second time, you might be a 5 or a 6. If you're up to an 8 or 9, then you've probably cleared out the block. But if you are, if you're gone up a few points, but not all the way, it usually means there's another blocking memory. So if there is, you just go back to the beginning and you listen for the next negative voice that tells you it can't happen. And you do that until you get up till about an 8 or so. There are some exceptions, but most of the time, 1, 2, or 3 rounds will get you up to an 8. And then you create an affirmation that expresses your new positive belief. So in my case, when I all of a sudden realized 10 pages a day for 15 days, well, that was my affirmation. Every morning, every night, I'm saying that 10 pages a day for 15 days or whatever it was. So when you say your affirmation after clearing out the blocks, it's much more powerful than saying it before you've cleared them out. And we like to smell transformation oil, but you can even use lemon oil or believe. And you stand in what we call a power pose. And this is some research out of Harvard that showed that when a person stands for just 2 minutes in what's called a power pose, so that would be standing with feet a little bit wider than the hips, toes a little bit out, and then arms up in a Superman or on the hips like Wonder Woman. For just 2 minutes, it raises testosterone and it lowers cortisol levels. So it puts us biologically into a confident place. So when we say our affirmation from that place, it really anchors that new belief. And then number 12 is make a plan and take action daily. Just clearing out your blocks isn't going to magically make things happen. Well, I take that back. 1% of the time it will. There's sometimes these miracles do happen. We clear something out, all of a sudden something magical happens. But we shouldn't really be, that shouldn't be our plan. our plan should be something that we are working on daily.
So when you tap on.
So everything okay there?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we need to take action daily. This is not a substitute for action. This is what frees us up for action. Okay, so those are the basics. You guys with me so far? Okay, so additional training, we're going to do our demos in a few minutes, but my website you should be aware of, aromafreedom.com, www.aromafreedom.com is where I have the book. I also have an ebook. There are a few training videos on there. I do have a certification course that if people want to become certified to be AFT practitioners, you can do it on there. There's also some new webinars and so on. So what I wanted to do was do a demonstration, and I thought I would do, let me look at my time. Yeah, we're good. I'm going to do a demonstration on one person first, and then we're going to do a demo for everybody so that everybody can experience this. So I'm going to ask for a volunteer in a minute, and whoever chooses to come up, I want you to have some area where you feel stuck. There's some goal that you have, and you feel like it's a little bit beyond your reach. You really want it, but it feels a little bit out of reach. Something that when you think about it, you're maybe in that 3 to 6 range of how possible it feels. And so who would like to be my demo?
Gina. Why me? She's good at it. Thanks. Yeah. Okay. Gina would like to.
Where am I standing up?
Right by here. I want you right by him to see.
So right where you were.
Right where you were.
Okay, so whoever my demo is, if you could just, yeah, sit so that we can see you. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, what's your name?
Gina.
What is it?
Gina?
Gina. Hi, Gina. Okay, I just need to get a notepad here. Okay, so Gina, you're going to need to have a few oils with you. You're going to need the frankincense, lavender, and stress away. And then sometimes we'll use inner child and release. So I don't know if anyone has either of those that they could loan you. Depending on, about 70% of the time, just those first 3 will take us all the way through, but there are some times when we need to go another round, so that's okay. Okay.
I got release. Thank you. So Jill has the 3 oils in one. That's okay?
Yes, that's great. Okay, so Gina, what would you like to work on? What is your intention? What do you want?
My intention is to be able to work with larger audiences.
Okay. How large?
A minimum of 50 people.
Okay. You want to work with larger audiences, at least 50 people. All right, so how possible does that feel right now from 0 to 10?
10 being on a good note or a bad note?
Good. 10 is when you feel confident that you could do it, and 0 is you feel totally hopeless that you could ever do it.
7.
At a 7, okay. So let's clarify a little bit. The intention could be that to work with them, or the intention could be how you feel when you're working with them, you know, feeling totally comfortable working with them. You know, is the issue how you feel, or is the issue finding the people to talk to, or knowing what to say? Like, what's the issue?
The issue is connecting with the people to work with.
So finding the people.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So a 7 is already not too bad. So we could work with that. Is there any way you can stretch this and make it a little bit harder to believe? For instance, that you do that next week, or that you do that, you know, it's some condition that makes it even seem just a little bit harder. Or a little bit better, I should say. You know, could be that you work with these people and get paid abundantly, or you work with these people and, you know, they give you raving reviews. Or how would you kind of reach a little bit further is what I'm saying. If you're already a 7, I'm asking you to reach a little further?
Probably more in the power of believing that there are people that want transformation.
Okay. So, well, we're starting to talk about the blocks, but okay, well, let's just go with this then. So working with larger audiences, at least 50 people, you're at a 7 right now. Okay, so you already kind of started the process. So what's the negative belief? What's the voice say that tells you that you can't have that?
I'm trying to find the right words.
Okay.
People don't need help.
Okay. Okay, so when you hear that voice say, people don't need help, what do you feel?
Well, I felt it before we started. I'm familiar with the process. I have a lot of heat in the upper part of my chest at the moment.
Okay, what's a one word that you would use to describe that feeling, the emotion word?
Sadness.
Sadness, yeah. Yeah. So people don't need help. You feel sad, you feel heat in your chest. Okay, good. So now drift to an earlier time in your life when you felt the same way, same feeling of sadness. What's the first memory that comes up? Could be recent or long ago.
It goes back to an adoption.
Okay. Okay, can you get a snapshot of that time?
Infant.
Okay. Okay, so can you see, what do you actually see?
I see a room of people and a lot of infants being passed around. I see it's in a yellow building.
Okay. Okay, so I want you to get your oils out now, put a couple drops of that blend in.
The release as well?
No, no,
Just the one.
yeah, that's the mixture already. So you're gonna smell. So you're gonna hold that for about a minute or so. And as you breathe the oils in, just breathe the oils into that visual image, into that picture, that time of seeing an adoption and people passing infants around, and notice what happens to that visual image as you breathe.
Goes away.
Okay, it went away already. Okay, and what happens in your body?
The heat went away.
Okay, and what happened in your mind? What happened in your mindset?
There's a clarity. It actually is blank at the moment.
Okay, so everything just poof.
I'm trying to think of what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I'm trying to image what I was just imaging, and it's not. It's like
It's gone.
seeking.
Yep, and this is what happens. This is exactly what happens. And once it vanishes, it's like it didn't really matter anyway, so no sense trying to get it back. So now I'm going to cycle you back to your original intention, which is you want to work with larger audiences of at least 50 people. How possible does that feel now?
10.
10. Perfect. So when you think about it, it's just a confidence. There's no, and then that negative, there's no negative voice there anymore either, right? Perfect. Okay, so what's an affirmation that kind of captures this shift that just occurred? That would kind of capture this new awareness.
Something simple as I have the power within me to do what I'm doing. I have the power within me to accelerate the results within the power that I'm doing.
Okay. That's great. Let's shorten it a little bit.
I have the power within me to accelerate results.
Okay, good. Even shorter, we can say, I accelerate results. I see results now. I do this now.
Okay.
Something like that. Which one do you like?
I see results now.
Yeah. My sense with you is that you're moving very fast. My sense with you is that because this cleared out so quickly that you're really right there. So when it's this quick, sometimes you don't even need an affirmation because it just cleared right out. But it's good to have one just to kind of not slip back, and also so people can see. So I see results. I see results now. So we're going to do a power pose. So for that, I'm going to stand up. And see if you can borrow some transformation or believe or lemon.
Lemon, believe. Oh, I may have lemon.
Transformation is out of stock.
I think I've been telling too many people to get transformation. So,
Yeah.
so even lemon. Lemon is a very upbeat kind of moving forward oil, and it's also in the starter kit. So it's another great choice here. Other good, just a drop in your palms. Other good choices are any of the Idaho Blue Spruce, Idaho Balsam Fir. Really, almost any oil that a person likes could be used in this phase. Even thieves oil. Rub hands together. Smell. Arms out. I see results now.
I see results now.
Just say that over and over.
I see results now. I see results now. I see results now. I see results now.
Smell again. Come back again.
I see results now. I see results now.
Say, I see myself working with 50 people effortlessly.
I see myself working with 50 people effortlessly.
I see myself doing wonderful things with big groups.
I see myself doing wonderful things with big groups.
Good. Okay, have a seat. So the affirmation is something also that can shift. And I used to tell people to do an affirmation every day for 21 days to shift the habit. But what I found is that in this process, because it moves so fast, after a day or two, sometimes that's already integrated and you're ready for the next affirmation. So I encourage you to play with it and find as you fine tune it, find the ones that are really taking you where you want to be guided. So how do you feel?
I feel good. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Everyone give a round of applause. Okay, so I could take a few questions if we want, and then I could do a demo for everyone. Or if there aren't questions, then I'll go right into the demo for everyone.
Does anybody have any questions? No
I
questions?
have a comment. It's interesting, the session that you just had. I've had something similar. So you talk about beliefs, we talk about paradigms. That similar situation came up. Instead of it being heat in my chest, about 2 years ago, it was literally golf balls in my throat, where trying to take a very big step in the direction of something that you wanted, but the mental negative behavior wanting to hold you back, like literally a brick wall standing between what you wanted, and pushing through that brick wall. You could feel the golf balls form in my throat.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's gotten a lot better. Now it's just heat.
Yeah, it's a process, and wherever you go is where you need to go right then. So and sometimes a person might feel it maybe in their belly, and then that clears, then it might be in their throat, and sometimes it goes up into their head. So things can move around. Also, sometimes we feel it as a location in our body, and sometimes we feel it as a posture, actually. Like it might be like a feeling scrunched over, or noticing that your eyes are down. So pay attention also. That can be, when you say where do you feel it in your body, if you catch the posture you're in, that's very powerful too. So
is the feeling in your body correlated to, like, say, for instance, different cultures of belief, like your chakras, or is the feeling also coordinated to the mind? So if you have a particular issue that's going on in your body on a health level, could that also be why it resonates in that particular part of your body?
yeah, I mean, it seems that emotions seem to correspond pretty regularly with certain parts. Like, it's not possible to be angry without having your shoulders up like this, and it's not possible to be afraid without feeling something in your solar plexus. When you feel sad, generally it's in the heart area. So there are some correlations. When you feel confused, generally it's up in your head. So there are some correlations, and that's fine, but we don't want to get too hung up on, oh, well, it should be here if it's sadness, and it should be here. You know, we listen to wherever the body goes, but yes, that's, you know, broadly speaking, why it occurs in those areas. Yep. Yeah, so it was pretty effortless, right? Pretty quick.
Yes, absolutely.
Here so we can see it. We have a question. She's coming up.
Sure.
But I have a question while she's coming up. What if, like, that was too easy? Don't you have, like, difficult people? So what do you think?
Yeah, so, well, maybe as we go through our demo, a person might go from a 3 to a 5, and we may need to do a second or third round with them. Like I said, about 70% of the time it will clear on the first run. So, which is great, which is fantastic. But there's still, you know, 30% of the time when it doesn't totally clear. It clears part way. One layer gets peeled. Also, you know, she was already at a 7. And so when you're already at a 7, getting to a 10 is not that difficult. What it meant was that there was just a last little thing to go. But if you're at a 0, you're not usually going to go from a 0 to a, I've seen it, but you're not usually going to go from a 0 to a 10. You're going to go from, usually if you're at a 0, it's because there are several layers. So yeah, it's not uncommon that a person will clear one layer and we have to do 2 or 3, but I never really have to do more than about 3 times. In fact, I never have done more than 3 layers. And if we're not at an 8 by then, usually their system has released enough where we're going at least in a positive direction. And then it's time to start the affirmation process. But yeah, so, you know, if someone is coming in and they're totally hopeless about something, chances are there are going to be a few rounds that we'll do. So yes, you had a question?
Hi, I'm Christina.
Hi.
I heard something this week that wasn't clear to me, and I have a feeling that you could explain it really well. The term paralysis of will, what does that mean?
Yeah, so paralysis is actually a survival response. You know, when the deer is in the headlights, that's that freeze paralysis. It's a survival response back from the days when, if the deer's nervous system is designed to be in the woods, and the deer hears the wolf, and so he freezes. And if he can stay perfectly still, then the wolf, who's scanning for movement, actually won't see the deer, right? So it's a survival response. But when the deer is in the headlights on the highway, that's a bad survival response. That's a freeze paralysis that will get it killed. Same with us. You know, we also have a similar survival brain. So if we are, maybe, you know, we know that we have this big report to do and we're frozen, right? I just can't seem to write it. I can't do anything. I'm stuck. What it really is that there's some belief that's kicking up that's saying, don't do this. Something bad will happen if you do this. Could be a fear of failure, could be a fear of success, could be whatever it is, something's triggering the survival response, that amygdala. So this technique is perfect for something like that because it's getting us out of that survival response, because chances are writing the report is not going to kill you. You're not going to get shot if you write the report. It's just some inner part of you that is afraid of that. So when we have paralysis of the will, usually it's because we are responding from an earlier time when we did feel threatened.
That was great. Thank you. I was also surprised to hear that they were referring to paralysis of will for ADD, for children with ADD, for adults with bipolar, it was just very interesting to me. For procrastination, they were saying that serious procrastination is actually a trauma back to childhood where something happened and it caused paralysis of will. You know, for people to just do basic stuff like paying their bills or anything that, you know, where they're very capable in many other aspects of their life. So I just thought it was fascinating that, you know, that people are using this term in medical science now called paralysis of will.
Yeah, I've come to really, I mean, I'm a psychologist, so I've gone through all the DSM diagnoses and everything. I don't really pay much attention to them anymore because I find that most problems really are stemming from the same issues, which is things that happen that we develop negative beliefs and memories, and so we kind of shaped our personality in a to try to survive that. And that, you know, when we go back and unwind that stuff, then it kind of frees up our spirit to move forward.
So what is the difference between paralysis of will and paralysis of spirit or paralysis of soul?
Well, now you're getting deep on me. Well, you know, I would say that paralysis of will refers to there's something that you should be doing that you're not doing, right? That's the will, the doing. You know, paralysis of spirit would be, you know, you feel disconnected. You don't even know what your guidance is, and or you know what you should be doing, and you don't do it. You know, in a more spiritual sense. You know, that's probably the best I can do on that one. But you know, what happens is that we become disconnected from our spirit, from our guidance system that tells us where we're supposed to be going in life. Because I believe that everyone has a different path to climb. Everyone has their own unique path, and that we get kind of taken off our path out of fear of what other people might think and so on. So when we can reconnect with that positive inner voice that tells us this prompting, do this, do this, do this, and if we follow it, then our life just unfolds, you know. And when we ignore that voice because we are conditioned to think that we shouldn't listen to it, then we just get stuck in many ways.
So where does the soul fit in? It just in terms of if there's a disconnect of spirit, then versus a disconnect of will.
I'm gonna pass on that only because we're kind of getting really theoretical here, and I want people to have a practical experience of this, if that's all right.
Sure.
You can maybe text me later and we could chat about that. But I'd like people to have an experience of this.
All righty.
Okay. So, yep. So I'd like everyone who is willing, and I hope you all are willing, to do this. It does help to have a piece of paper, something to write on. And whatever oils you have, if you don't have all the oils we're talking about, and either Jill can pass around the memory release blend, or just use whatever oils you do have. So first step, I want you all to write down an intention. Write down something that you want. Something that it's a desire, it comes from your heart, but you feel stuck, you feel not sure that you can actually achieve it. And I'm going to go at a certain pace. You may be ahead or behind this, but follow along the best you can. Okay, once you have your intention, say that to yourself and ask yourself, how likely does it feel that that's going to happen from 0 to 10? 0 is you feel totally hopeless of it happening, and a 10 is you're totally confident that it'll happen. Give it a number. Now, listen in and hear, what does that little voice say that tells you that you can't have that can't happen? Listen into what that says and write it down, whatever that voice is saying. Once you have that, say that negative voice. Notice how you feel when you hear that voice. How do you feel? And give it one word. Angry, embarrassed, confused, frustrated. One word. Then, notice where you feel that in the body. Where do you feel it in your body? Is it in your heart, your stomach, your head? Is there a body posture? Are you scrunched over? Are you looking down? Notice where you feel it. Now I want you to drift back to an earlier time in your life when you felt the same way. Could be recently or long ago. Find the snapshot of that time, picture it clearly, and then smell your oils. A couple of drops of oils in your palm, the release blend. Take about a minute, breathe the oils in, and as you do, notice what happens to the image. Notice what happens to the feeling in your body. Notice what happens to your thought process. Do your thoughts spontaneously shift or become more positive?
So they're supposed to use the blend now? Is that what they're supposed to be using?
Yes.
Oh.
It's not stress relief.
It's not stress relief, it's clarity.
Oh, sorry.
And if you don't have that particular oil, you could just smell almost any oil that you have. Once you've noticed a shift, whether it's a shift in your body or a shift in the visual or the thoughts, I'll give you another moment on this one to notice what's happening. Once you've noticed the shift, come back to your original intention and read it again. Whatever that was, read that again and rate it and see how possible it feels now from 0 to 10. And now I'd like you guys, you don't have to tell me what your process was, but just call out to me what the number was when you started and what it is now.
4, 9.
Great.
Anybody else? 6, 10.
6 to a 10, perfect.
6 to an 8.
Great.
3 to a 5.
Perfect, 3 to a 5. Yeah, so all of these are pretty much what we tend to see. It'll rise several points. Some of you have already gotten up into that 8, 9, 10 range. Some of you, if you started lower, it might have gone up just a few points. If we were working individually and you had risen just a few points, we would just basically have you do another round, and you can continue after we're done. I encourage you to do this. Take yourself through and just ask again, what's the next negative voice say, and do another round until you get up to an 8 or higher. For the group demonstration, we're just going to do one round, so I want you all to experience the next step. So now, whatever it is that shifted, I want you to create an affirmation based on what just occurred. So if you were doing this and you suddenly realized that it's possible, just write an affirmation. Now, sometimes the affirmation could be the very same thing as the intention. So if the intention was, I'm a silver by December, then your affirmation could be, I'm a silver by December. But I like the affirmations also to be action-oriented. So it could be something like, every day I bring 2 new people into the business, or every day I say kind words to my husband, or whatever it is that shifted in your attitude. Try to incorporate that into the affirmation. And this is an affirmation that you're going to say morning and night for about a week. Okay, so write that down. Okay, and then everyone stand up. Doing our power poses. And so here you're smelling a transformation, a lemon, a Idaho balsam fir, believe, you know, and you don't have to use a different oil, but if you have one, throw an oil on. And then you're going to say your affirmation. So the power poses could either be out like so, you know, basically the chest out is the main part, but it could also be hands on your hips like Wonder Woman. And you want your heels, your toes a little bit wider than your heels. Now just say your affirmation a few times. Now I can do whatever it takes to succeed, or I write 20 pages a day, or whatever it is. It's going to do that. You're going to go back and forth between smelling it and arms out. And this is just a little bit of practice. Get yourself into that positive place. Feel it. Say the words. Visualize the desired outcome. Okay, great. Have a seat. How do you guys feel? Good. So I'm going to go back to my share screen again here. Okay, so we just did our demonstration. And like, you know, when you watch someone else doing a demonstration, you know, I always encourage people to see if something in you gets triggered that you can work on as well. So we did our demo already. So we talked a little bit about, you know, working with your team. If you have a team of people that you want to work with, you can use this process with them and helping them clarify their vision or their why, helping them to set realistic and measurable goals. You know, you continue teaching and doing all the things that you do for your team. Remember that just clearing blocks is not enough. You actually have to do the work. You have to show up and actually do the work, but clearing the blocks frees your energy for that. I encourage you to try doing an introduction to essential oils with AFT. You know, in this process, you could create a positive experience for everyone, have people talk about their dreams, what they want, and then clear them out. And, you know, you can use this if you want to bring therapists in to your organization. You can actually use the book as a marketing tool. You can pass the book out to therapists or to really anybody and say, you know, let's meet up in a week and talk about it, or let's try it out. So this is why I make it available. I have some bulk discounts for people who want to use the book to actually build a business this way. We do have the 8-week certification course, and it's 8 one-hour live online training and practice sessions. So in this, you get a little bit deeper on the background and theory, why the different pieces were put together the way they were. We do lots of demonstrations. We do practice time so that you are actually practicing, trying it out with each other. And you're clearing out emotional issues. If you feel blocked, like, oh, I could never do that. Well, we're going to clear those issues out. So you get your personal and professional growth and weekly support. And when you become certified, then you get a certificate, and you can actually market yourself as a certified AFT practitioner, which some people, this was nothing that I had even thought of when I was writing the book, but people kept asking, well, is there going to be a certification? And, how do we get certified? And I kept putting them off because in my mind I thought, oh, well, that's something that'll, a couple of years down the road, yeah, maybe after people are doing it a while. And but so many people were asking me, I realized that I had a block. I realized that, well, what's wrong? Why am I blocked on this? Everyone wants this. So I was awake at night. I couldn't sleep because I was thinking about this. So I got up, I did my process. I cleared out this belief that I had that people wouldn't want this. And once that was gone, then the information just came in of that it would be 8 weeks, that it would be online, what it would be. So I went onto my website and I put it out there. I went to bed that night. I woke up in the morning and 5 people from Singapore had already signed up for the certification. So this is what happens, how quickly things start to manifest when you clear out your blocks. So the next class, we have 2 that just started that are basically full. The next one starting September 7th, it's Wednesday at 3 p.m. That I try to keep it to 16 people. That has about 9 people in it so far. If you are really interested, but those times don't work for you, just send me an email if there's specific other times you might want. Also, I have a webinar coming up on Friday evening, and it's how to deepen your intuition using AFT, because we talk about when you start clearing out the blocks and you listen to that inner knowing, then good things start happening. So we're going to do some clearings related to that. That's Friday, and you can go right onto the aromafreedom.com website for that. Tonight, I am going to do a special for you guys. When I do a demonstration like this, I like to do a special. So we're taking 20% off of everything in the store, except for certification. I can't discount that. But for the next day and a half, if you want books, if you want webinars, anything like that, or even individual sessions with me, if you want those, we can do those right online. Use the code blueberries at checkout. I just chose that because blueberries are in season. Also, I encourage you to find me on Facebook. And when you like my page, then you'll be notified when we do other things. And I look forward to seeing you guys soon. So I will stop the formal thing here. Time just maybe for, look at my time. Yeah, we have time for a couple more questions if we want. If anybody has any burning questions.
Any questions? Which I have a question. When you say like if it goes to your stomach so what is that supposed to mean?
Oh, you mean if the feeling moves around?
Yes.
Well, it's because we have these layers sometimes. And so for instance, let's say the intention is I want to speak in public and I feel a 2 out of 10. I feel really frightened of that. And I'm breathing and I go back to a memory and I'm feeling it in my heart, and I go back to a memory of a time, whatever, something bad happened. I clear that out, my heart starts to feel better, but now I'm starting to be aware of this tightness in my stomach. So what that means is that the most prevalent one was the one I could feel. Once that got cleared away, then there's another one that's realizing, well, I'm not quite ready to go on stage yet either because I'm feeling afraid from this other memory. So it usually means a different memory is being triggered. So then when you clear that one out, then that could be all gone, or maybe there's one up in your throat that, was kind of like the third one down. So it's really like peeling an onion. So the important thing is really just to go with whatever is surfacing, and you're not going to be led astray if you just kind of listen to what you're feeling and follow along. So hopefully that makes sense for you.
Nobody else have any
So-
questions? Yes. Do you have a question, Amy?
I work with sexually traumatized children. I'm not a therapist, never claimed to be, but I have equine programs with children. And I'm thinking there would be a good way to incorporate this into my work, with the children and their parents, because sometimes the parents are more traumatized than the children are.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Absolutely. I actually just realized there's one more slide that explains that a little bit. Put it on there or not. No, I guess I didn't put it on there. So yeah, I'm going to be teaching my next project, now that I have this going, is really Aroma Freedom Technique for mental health professionals. And it's basically kind of addressing this issue, how to fold this very simple, as you saw, it can be a very simple and short technique, but some people need that bigger context of therapy, that safe environment, that process of releasing and then integrating, over time. So how do you fold that in? And you would do that just at whatever points organically in the therapy process where, part of what's changed in my thinking is that I'm always focusing on asking a person what they want, and instead of what happened to them. And when you're focusing that, you're kind of creating a future orientation. And then whatever is blocking from the past, it'll come up to be dealt with then, but the person's going to have energy to deal with it because they're excited about what they want. So when you are focusing a person on what they want, what their goal is. Maybe it's to have a healthy relationship, to feel peace in their marriage, to feel safe at school, whatever it is. Once they say that and you use the AFT process, whatever the specific memories related to that are going to come up for healing. So it allows you to kind of like chunk it, take it one step at a time. And each time you do, the person has grown a little bit in success. And so they're gaining a feeling of confidence with each step of the way. So you could actually kind of fold it in. Now, generally, I only work on one intention per session. Even if a session might be 50 minutes or an hour, the AFT process might only take 5 or 10 minutes. So I'm not going to do 5 different AFT processes because that's overwhelming for the brain. It's better to do one, have that intention clear, have them doing their affirmations, because that's another way of actively engaging them in that forward-moving process. Doing their affirmations at home, they come back the next week, they talk about what happened when they did those affirmations. And it could be that doing those affirmations triggered a whole nother set of anxieties. And in which case, okay, well, let's refocus. What do you want now? And then you just kind of use it like that. Okay?
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, guys. Well, I'm going to leave it here, but I want to thank you, Jill, for bringing the troops together and giving me the opportunity to speak about this. I enjoyed doing this so much, and I just hope that you'll try it and give me feedback on how you make out. I'd love to hear success stories. I'd love to hear if you feel blocked. If you tried something and it didn't work, then we want to get you through that. So you guys have a great night, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.